It's the Fresh and Friends podcast, and there's a great show coming right up.
Hello and welcome back to the Fresh and Friends podcast. This episode I'm joined by Callout and Fultz. How are you both?
Good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Happy to have you both on. How, first and foremost, how's the event going so far for both of you?
Pretty good, I'd say. Outside of the whole electricity problem, I think the first few days of practice rooms, it's been pretty smooth outside of that.
What was going on with that?
I have no fucking clue. It was just, we'd go in there, the PCs get knocked off every 30 seconds or so, and it was just, I guess the power supply was getting too condensed in a sense, so they tried to spread it out, run some more cables in, and seemed to fix the issue though.
I think from what I heard, the hotel had different layout plans that they provided to Blast and to Ubisoft. So they were just not expecting the amount of power needed.
Yeah.
So, but did that all get sorted in the end?
It did.
Yeah.
It was only a problem really for the first 2 days.
Yeah.
And then after that, I think they started running some cords up some stairs or something. I don't really know what they did, but
nice, fair enough. I suppose it eases off as teams get eliminated, right?
Yeah,
that's true.
So in terms of your team performance at the event, obviously you made it through into the upper bracket from group stage. So how was group stage for you? Did you learn much about the team during that time?
I think we always go into these tournaments with the mindset of where we aren't necessarily trying to, focus on beating another team. It's more so we look at it of what could we have done better from, the last tournament or the last practice, whatever it might be, and kind of focus on internal execution. So I think that in a couple of those games we let slip a bit, and then I think, in some of them we did a bit better. Not really dependent on the winner or the loss, but I think that overall, I think we did a pretty good job of actually executing the way we wanted to in those games, and it paid off obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then you had a bit of a crazy upper bracket on the first day. You played through FaZe Clan and G2 Esports.
Yep.
How was that?
I'll let you crank Fultz.
All right.
Because that's two big teams to prepare for, right?
Yeah, fair enough. I think FaZe we're pretty familiar with at this point. We play them at pretty much every event and every tournament, and I think as well it kind of plays into our favor a little bit, just because I think they have kind of an NA style a little bit, kind of that slow paced, we're going to displace you how we want and then execute how we want. So it's something that doesn't make us, I don't think, too uncomfortable, and we've played them at a lot of tournaments, like I said, so we kind of knew we were getting into. It's about, like he said, just executing what we want to execute. That's really what it comes down to. So they were pretty simple. But G2 on the other hand, they kind of play a crazier, looser style. But we were, prepared for that as well. And I think we went into that match and played how we wanted to play, kept calm. We were decisive, which is important, I think, versus those aggressive teams. You can't let them dictate the pace of the game and make it too chaotic. And I think we went into that confident, and I think it showed. So,
I suppose from a team perspective, how hard is it to go from even just those styles playing a FaZe to then playing a G2 inside of the same day?
Yeah. That is funny. I didn't think about that, but it is very two different.
Yeah, I thought, you want me to?
No, you can go.
I think it's it comes down a lot how you practice, I think. And we do a lot of deliberate, pace training almost in a sense.
Okay.
So before leading to the last major, for example, we were literally forcing slow-paced gameplay the entire time, leading into that.
Yeah.
And for this one, we played a lot faster leading in and kind of changed it up. So I'd say we have experience kind of training and playing against both styles of play. It's not we only play one way all the time. We have deliberate ways we want to train. So because of that, I think it made it easier for us to pivot into going from FaZe to G2 and then applying that game plan there.
So then just coming through, you then met BDS. Ended up losing that game after winning the first map.
Yep.
Describe that game to me then, because obviously that was I covered it on the desk. It was a big game where you got the first map, they got the second, and then they really kicked on in that third map.
Yep.
So I suppose what went wrong inside of that match?
You want to crack it?
Yeah, I think on Bank, we were there with them, so even though the score I think was 4-7 or something like that, there were some rounds that could have went our way, and there was some mistakes that we made, and it felt like it was in our control. And but the third map, I think it was just they played better, and again there were some rounds we could have won in that match, but I think in that match you had to give it to them, they just played better than us. But in the Bank, it didn't really feel like that. It felt like it was in our control, and we just kind of slipped up. So yeah, I mean that's pretty much all my thoughts on it really.
Yeah, I'd agree. Again, the Bank was Should have probably closed out on that one, I think. And then Nighthaven as well, we had kind of a mishap in the beginning, like a kind of disconnect and understanding. I'm not going to go too deep into that, but that kind of caused us to go off path a little bit, I think, going to the start of that map. And then a lot of the stuff that we kind of prepared for, we weren't expecting to see in the game.
Yeah.
And then, you know, that paired with them kind of heating up at that point, I think, and playing like a pretty good game of Siege, it kind of just allowed it to snowball in a way where they kind of just ran away with it at the end.
Yeah, I remember that bank as well. I remember actually saying on the desk against like so many other teams, you would have won that bank, hands down.
Yeah.
It's just that they're obviously an Unreal Bank team as well. Just on that actually, because they've never lost that map as a core. Just from a point of view, from a map ban perspective. What was, if you don't mind me saying, because you might play them again, obviously, what was the reasoning that you went to bank? Or you allowed it through the map veto, I guess?
You know, just compared to what we banned, like looking at bank, we thought we matched it better on it. And, you know, I mean, you watched the game, obviously, you saw like a lot of those rounds were like in our advantage. I think we lost a 4v3 once, we lost a 1v2 against them. Like, there were a couple of rounds that, you know, we had in our favor that we were dropping. So it's like, it was a map I think we're capable of winning, and that's kind of one of the things, like if they want to pick that and, you know, we think we're still capable of competing on it, we're going to let them pick it and we're going to play it.
Fair enough.
Just because we're also comfortable on bank. You know, we've, obviously this tournament's been kind of like a different one. We haven't won it a ton, but historically we've always been good at bank, and I think that we are still a pretty good bank team. It just, you know, any given Sunday it's going to come down to it, and whoever's better is better.
I mean, certainly from my perspective, I wouldn't mind seeing you two teams go at it again, especially on bank. Speaking of going at it again, FaZe Clan tomorrow. What were your reactions? Are you? I suppose, like you said, you're somewhat comfortable playing them. You've already played them inside of this tournament. Is it for your for your expectations? Are you just hoping same again?
I mean, I think it's like I said before. I'm not really too worried about the result of that game. I just want us to like not allow the external factors of that, you know, stage and like, you know, the fans, whatever family being there, etc. Like, I want us to go out there and play the way we want to play the game. And then, you know, FaZe plays better at the end of the day. They played better and they beat us. But I don't want to leave that game saying, like, okay, we left this on the table. We could have done better here. We could have done better here. And then, you know, us have to sit there and gnaw on that, like knowing that we could have played a better game. I just want us to play our best game, and then fucking you fire the arrow wherever it goes, where it goes, and one can take it away type deal.
Yeah.
As long as you guys have just given the best account of yourselves, because
Exactly.
you know you're a high level team, right?
Yeah.
So if you perform on your day, and if they perform better, because they're also a high level team, then you can accept that. It's just about putting the right performance out from you, your guys. Cool. I mean, I guess we'll leave it there, not to get too much into the future. Obviously, you know, good luck for you guys in terms of, you know, the main stage, and I hope you go all the way personally, especially in front of a North American crowd. The bit that's really interesting me about your team is the culture that you're building, and certainly from an external perspective, it's so different to any other team inside of this scene. And I guess I just wanted to get more understanding on the why your team operates like that. So I guess I suppose my first question is, like, how did this develop in terms of the culture?
Yeah, okay, I'll let you answer that, because when he came to SSG from Astralis, they kind of had a little bit of culture already going, so. This
was after SI 2023, right?
Yes.
That was where there was that kind of merge of the Astralis and the old SSG core.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, you know, I think it kind of started back where there was this performance coach that worked with us on Astralis. His name was Taylor Johnson. He's like, call him like the godfather of performance. I think that he's absolutely amazing at what he does. And he started kind of, I guess, guiding us in that direction in a sense, where we were, you know, starting to learn more about like the psychology and physical aspects and how those impact the game.
Yep.
And, you know, kind of on that team of Astralis, we started getting into it's like, you know, the players, myself, you know, our staff, we were like, all these things we know can help us, like physically and mentally, and we don't want to, you know, just to neglect those things we know they're going to help us. And then because they know it's just grown from there, and we've just added more and more things on. And I think it's like, as a collective, you know, we're very focused around progress, and then, you know, putting ourselves in the best position to perform. And, you know, anytime a new tool comes out, or anytime a new, you know, protocol, I guess, comes out, you could call it, we try to apply it as best we can, and then, you know, make it ours, I guess, in a sense. So
what are your, I suppose, key things that are like non-negotiable in your team then?
You can crank it, as I've been taking over for it.
Yeah, okay. I mean, the culture's set, and like there's no non-negotiable. It's not like a cult. It's not like you have to do this to like be on this team. But saying that, like, that being said, we would never pick up somebody that we don't think would kind of accept a lot of our standards, if that makes sense. But like, I mean, for the most part, like if one person on the team does it, and like you said, it's like as a player to say I'm not going to do that, even though it's going to make me better, just because it's hard or it takes more effort, like it's pretty like shameful to say that and like not like leave your teammates in the dust. You know, they're all doing it and you're sitting there watching them. So it's kind of just like a contagious thing that like kind of just goes through like all of us as players, and we do a good job of holding each other accountable with everything. And I think that's really what it comes down to, is like we have a good coach, and he like holds us accountable, but at the end of the day it is player led and we all need to do it. And I think we have a specific set of players where it's possible.
Yeah. So what are the main things for you? Because obviously I see you guys in the gym. In terms of eating and nutrition, that's all. Do you control that, or is that just down to individuals?
It's a lot of like the eating stuff and things of that sort, and like exercise, like it's down to the individual. We offer all the tools, I guess, and the knowledge. Like, for example, at our boot camp, we did like a pretty in-depth nutrition workshop on it. Like I just got my nutritionist certification too and stuff, so like I'm trying to grow myself to make these guys better as well on the outside. So it's like, we'll offer all the tools, and then the players will have the agency to do it. But like Fultz said, you know, if you have 4 guys doing something, you're the 5th guy not doing it, it becomes really awkward.
You
at a certain
isolate
point.
yourself outside of that group.
And then it kind of becomes like one of those things where it's not like, all right, you know, you got to eat this, this, and this. You're going to work out here. You're going to do this, this, and this. It's more so like, hey, this is going to be the best thing for you to do. And then most of the guys are like, okay, let's do it. And then that's kind of how we go about it. But when you talk about the key things, I guess, because that was your original question, it's, you know, it really comes down to like, I guess, mental, emotional, and I guess physical health in a sense. It's kind of like the big pillars of it. And then what goes into that, there's a lot of things, right? It's like exercising to, you know, get that cortisol release earlier in the day before you play. You can meditate to help calm the mind down a bit before. We do this thing called fear setting, which is what we just did yesterday, which is like you essentially take the worst case scenario, whatever each person's fear is for this event. It could be like getting dropped. It could be us getting grouped. It could be, you know, getting fucking 0-20 and losing the game for your team, whatever it is. And then we'll go through and we'll break it down objectively. Okay, like, why is that your fear? And then we'll look at, okay, if it does happen, here's how you can prepare from that. So it becomes an objective outlook compared to an emotional outlook. Because a lot of times when we go into these things, you know, you build a huge narrative around it. Like, you know, if I fuck up at invite, it's like it's the end of the world. But you break it down a bit and you look at it, it's like, it's really not the end of the world, you know? And you start to see those things, and it helps the guys kind of alleviate a bit more. So
you just aim for that kind of emotional middle ground.
Exactly.
Where it's like, nothing's too bad. Is that the same when like nothing's too good? Like, you know, if you get a big win, you let yourself enjoy it in the moment, but then you don't go too big on it.
You can touch on Infinite Game. You want to talk about that a little bit?
So we have this thing. It's like basically this guy that like just like gave a speech or whatever, but like we took a piece of it we really liked, and he kind of explained like what he called the Infinite Game, where it's basically his comparison was like Apple had like this little MP3 player that didn't even have like a screen or something, and then Samsung comes out with like this phone that has like this screen and all these new gadgets and whatever. And this guy asked Apple, like, you know, like Samsung's got this new phone, like what are you going to do about it? And he's like, I'm not even worried about it. Like, we're going to focus on our own product and not really look up and like try to copy or steal or worry about other people and what they're doing. Like, so basically at the end of the day, what his like message is like, focus on what you can control, and then pretty much like build the blocks day by day, and whatever happens, happens. Like if you try to look at the metrics of it, like, you know, I want to place this number at invite, then it's like, that's not really in your control a lot of the times, but what is in your control is, you know, what's internal and the work you put in and stuff like that.
Bringing this back to esports a little bit as well, that must give a lot of certainty for you guys as like a playing group and as a whole team, because, you know, very often, especially when I speak to teams, it's like they're fearful that if they have a bad performance or, you know, something happens, that they're just going to get dropped or cut. Whereas I suppose this gives you a little bit more certainty, knowing that you are trying to build those blocks ultimately, right?
Yeah, definitely.
And it's like Fultz said, you know, if obviously, you know, like Hot and Cold's an example, he was an absolute team player, and I think that he progressed throughout our team consistently. So it's not impossible that, like, you know, if you do your best, you can't get dropped type deal on the team. Like, obviously, it's still performance at the end of the day. We've got to at least attain a certain standard, you know, make sure the org doesn't like say, hey, listen, like, you guys fucking suck. Like, you're out here. But like at the same time, it's like, as long as you're consistently progressing and like working towards the next thing and not becoming complacent in what we're doing, you know, it's like you're going to probably have a spot on the team. And that's what kind of the culture we want to build. It's not in any way complacent. I think we work harder than a good majority of teams in the shit that we do, especially with like a lot of the auto game stuff. It's very dedicated. But at the same time, it's not, you know, result obsessed, I guess. It's not like we placed fucking 8th of this last one. We got at least place top 6 this one. Next one, at least got to get top 4. We're a failure. It's not that kind of outlook.
Yeah.
It's about as long as you're steadily improving the collective and the process.
And then everything else takes care of itself. Is the way I look at it.
And another, like, to touch off that, a lot of thing that, like, kind of, because I feel like, I don't know, it kind of helped me a lot as a player is, like, pretty much just, like, focusing on doing your job.
Yeah.
Another thing we talked about. Like, that's all you have to do. Follow, like, the prep work, do your job in game, and whatever happens, like, happens. I mean, we kind of touched on that a lot, but just doing your job is kind of, like, a simple way to just put it in your head as a player.
So in terms of the physical health then, I suppose because, you guys are in the gym. I've seen you in the gym every time we go to an event. You're always there together, absolutely crushing it. And then the inside of it as well. What's the belief there in terms of, I suppose, what's the correlation or the thought process there that doing all of that will result in, I suppose, ultimately better performance inside of the server?
Yeah. There's a lot of studies based around, especially like around like stress hormones and such, about like exercising, how this can help reduce it. So that's one of the main things right there is like getting exercise into the day will help you be less stressed, I guess, when it comes to an event like the day of.
Okay.
But then also in general as well, a healthier individual is going to be more confident. They're going to be, more, quicker in a sense, like in terms of like, how they can actually like operate in the mind. You're going to have a clearer mind when you're healthier. If you're not just, if you take a guy like Fultz who's, eating well, drinking his water, exercising every day, you take another guy who's drinking, 2 liters of soda, just hammering potato chips, like who's going to be faster mentally, do you think? You know what I'm saying? A lot of times it's going to be the guy like Fultz. And, we look at it like that, but that's also not the end all be all or just for the in-server performance. It's also that, being part of this team, I think that our players have a better quality of life than most other teams. I think that because of all the stuff they do. And I mean, Fultz, you could tell me or not if you believe in that or not, but like,
if I look back at like the person I was like 2 years ago as well, like I'm a way better, not a better person, but I've like progressed myself like so much.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't want to be the guy I was 2 years ago before I added all this stuff to my day to day.
Yeah.
So, and as well, like another thing with the gym too, I think that like a lot of other players could use is just doing something hard every day like that and something you don't want to do. It builds like your just mental resilience because you see people like losing their minds in the server, like just like can't believe what's happening and like they just start breaking. Whereas like if you take a guy that's going to the gym every day and doing something hard, it's like he's probably less likely to break as fast as the guy who's not.
Yeah, you just flex a little bit.
Yeah.
And does that happen in what?
You said you just flex.
You just flex.
I meant like a bridge, like instead of breaking, you just kind of go like that.
No, I get what you're saying. Yeah, makes sense.
And does that actually, like, in terms of in the server, I suppose if you had like specific, rounds where you've taken a bad loss, there's a fucking clutch just happening against you, whatever it is, where other people would like lose their heads and you guys are finding that you're not.
I mean, it happens still. Like we are human. Like if I've lost my mind in the game or got pissed off or whatever. Like it does still happen, but I think it's like all about this performance stuff. You're never gonna be perfect with it, but it's like you're gonna be better. Yeah. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
And you mentioned meditation as well, which is I suppose something I first experienced last year. So I've got a kind of a beginner's guide on how it can help. But what's the reason you implement meditation into your daily rituals as well?
Meditation I think is like the, I frankly look at it as like the base of almost a lot of things we do. Because it's like, the only time of day where you're really sitting there kind of and just, you're not doing anything really, right? Because like, we think what we're doing in the elevator, we're standing there, we're looking at our phone, we're checking Instagram, before bed we're watching YouTube, we're playing the game, we're gonna watch some Twitch streamer. It's like, even at dinner, you're rarely ever just sitting there eating your food, you're usually looking at something else, talking to somebody else, something. It's like, having that 10, 17 minutes a day, whatever it is, just to be there and to literally just breathe, I think that's really huge for mental health. And like also like allowing the guys to kind of have that time, I guess, to almost like kind of have their thoughts just organize themselves in a sense. Yeah. And, help them. And another benefit of it as well is it helps with your focus. Because like when I pick that spot on the floor there, I'm staring at that for 17 minutes a day, like it's going to make it way easier and it's going to feel a lot funner when I'm sitting there doing prep work or, I'm sitting there, going through watching the same VOD 4 times in a row. It's gonna feel like a fucking treat because I just stared at a floor for 20 minutes a day. It's like, what I'm saying? So it helps with a lot of things like that. And I think that's, where it comes into play a lot for us.
Is that how you do it? So like, I suppose if anybody wanted to take it away, is that how you do it? Is you pick a spot somewhere and you keep your eyes open?
Yep, just kind of like sitting there with your eyes relaxed a little bit, like I could do it on that table right there. I'd look at that, I'd try to sit up a little bit straight. And then, I'm just going to focus on the breathing in and out of my nose. slow it down a little bit. And then Fultz said it last time we did the interview with Anna, I believe it was, having a mantra in the mind as well. So like I always say like in, out, you could say moo. What do you say a lot? Do you know? Your mantra? So yeah, it could be Coca-Cola.
Anything.
It could be anything, but
Okay.
it's having a word to anchor your mind to, so that way you're just not racing like a
So
madman.
because I suppose if you just sit there, your mind's going to be grabbing all sorts of
Yeah.
things, right?
Yeah. And then also try to like stay very still.
Yeah.
And like it's gonna be harder when you first start, but and your mind will be racing much more at the beginning. But
And what's the big benefit of doing that? Is it the fact that focus?
I think it's focus. It also like I feel like makes your attention span better. I don't know if that's like the studies behind it, but like
It does
it's
help.
not like like there's no dopamine in staring at the floor, so like makes your attention spans better. And as well, like I love it like pregame because like naturally your anxiety's up, and if
Yeah.
you sit there and you just face like the thoughts in your heads and you're like, okay, it's fine, let me just calm myself down. It kind of like makes you face what's going on inside your head that you don't really understand of like why am I feeling like this. And then you kind of like get to detach and be like, okay, I'm about to play this match or whatever, and it's fine. Like, it's not a big deal.
Yeah. I suppose once we've like segmented it down and you bring it all back together and you start thinking, you're anxious before a game, you have the meditation, you're feeling alert because you've done a lot with the physical health, and you're looking at the emotion, and the emotional side of it is quite, I suppose, condensed. You're not getting too high or low. That's, I suppose, when you start putting all that together, that's like the optimum that you want to be in as as a professional and as athletes as well.
Yeah, flow state.
And that's what you're aiming for ultimately,
flow
to
state.
produce the best performance, right?
Yeah.
It's very fascinating because, like I say, lots of other teams don't do this. That's why I don't know of any that do. Obviously, you guys focus on yourself, but why do you think that is? Do you just think it's because esports is maybe in its infancy as like an industry?
I do. I really truly believe that, and like, I'm blessed with the players that I have. I think that they're able to buy into this and do it. Where it's like it's something that even when I played, I want to start doing some of these things, but I can never get my teammates to do it. And I think that it is because esports is in its infancy. I would say, and I think that as esports becomes more of an actual sport, you'll see a lot more teams doing this because who wants to compete and not be at their best, right? That's the way I look at it. Like I think a lot of people, it's almost lazy in a sense. I feel like where, like Fultz said, it's hard. The stuff isn't easy to do.
Yeah, you don't want to do a lot of it.
Yeah.
I suppose you're having to do. It's not a sacrifice, but it will feel like sacrifice.
It is. Yeah, it is. I mean, it is sacrifice. You have to sacrifice a lot of our time day to day. Like this isn't stuff we just do game day. It's like daily things.
Yeah.
Like every day.
Do you guys live in a team house?
No.
So you're all separate during the kind of regular stages and the rest. How does that work when you're on your own?
Yeah. So we have like this thing that kind of like helps us like hold each other accountable. It's we just like sync. We call it our sync. It's basically the first hour of our practice is like we turn on the webcams, we hop in Discord, and we just talk to each other face to face of like what you did today and what you're gonna do basically, or just like you can shoot the shit too and just talk about whatever. But it's kind of like just a way to hold each other accountable because you log in and it's like practice starts at noon. You had, say you woke up at 8, you had 4 hours of your day. Like let's tell us about what you did and. If you didn't do what you're supposed to do, then you have to tell your teammates, I didn't go to the gym today. I didn't meditate. I didn't visualize, whatever. So that's kind of like a way for us also to kind of warm up and talk to each other and get closer with each other. Well, since we don't live with each other, but as well like kind of hold each other accountable and stuff.
Do you focus on I suppose the one other thing that I've not asked about, which I presume you probably do focus on, is sleep and quality of sleep?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we do like pretty much. I mean, some of the guys on the team have a Whoop, which like tracks like your recovery and your sleep. Yeah. So some of the guys have that, but as well as like, always aim for like about 9 or 10 hours, I would say, in bed, and hopefully you get about like 8 or 9 hours of sleep.
Yeah.
And then if we're feeling like tired, it's we either do 27-minute naps, which is like the most ideal time frame to like not wake up like super groggy.
27 minutes.
27 or 90. If you're feeling really
tired.
Oh
yeah, I was told 90.
90.
Because you want to not get in deep sleep and then...
Yeah, you want to avoid that deep sleep grogginess so you don't wake up and you feel like, you just got like hit across the head.
Yeah. Fair enough. Yeah. It really is a way of life, isn't it?
It is.
And you've got to somewhat subscribe to it. I suppose if we bring this back to the team then, I was a little surprised when you brought Benja into the fold because like obviously I knew Benja from Europe. I in a way, I didn't see him subscribing to that way of life, but I guess he has, the fact that you're still with him. So what was that like? And I suppose, without speaking for him, what was that like, I suppose, for him, bringing him in?
Yeah, I mean, I was just his manager, I guess, or agent, whatever you'd call it, just messaged me and was like, "Hey, like, you know, Ben's interested in SSG. Like, let's get on a call." And then we got on a call, talked to him. Like, before we got Benja, we made it very clear kind of what our team was about, and you know, he seemed to like what he heard, and then after that, we're like, all right, let's crank it. You know, I thought Benja was like, I thought G2 was insane for letting him go. I think that like, him as a player, I honestly think that he's like, there's not another Benja in the world, I don't think, and I think that in the right environment, obviously, you know, he can thrive. So it's kind of an opportunity we just had to jump on. We had it.
How's he settled into that? I didn't see him as like somebody that would be in the gym or even know what meditation was, to be fair.
Yeah, I think it's like he went to the gym a little bit before he was on our team, but I think he's the type of guy that's like, he doesn't say much, but he also like is very driven and like he will never complain. I don't think I've ever heard him complain like ever, not
Really?
once. Like he doesn't talk much in general, but like when he does talk, it's never like complaining or like anything like that. Like he just gets the job done every time. Just nothing like, no matter what we're doing. Like he thinks like a bunch of teams would think we're crazy, like telling, you know, some guy to like, hey, we're gonna go jump in this lake at 8 a.m. and we gotta like, and it's like snowing outside, and Ben just like, okay.
Yeah, it's okay.
And that's it. Like,
As soon as he's in, he's just in, right?
yeah.
How come you do go and jump in lakes? Just out of interest.
So this event, before it was kind of just like something hard, I think we just wanted to do. But like this event, we actually invented like a protocol, because every event we come to, we get sick. So like there's health benefits to being basically in a cold plunge for like ideally like 11 minutes a week, I think is at the end of the week.
Per week?
Per week, okay. Yes. So that was what we did this time. So this time we did it like every morning we wake up and we would go out, and the lake was like frozen over. It was absolutely so cold. It was terrible, like worst part of the day for sure. But we would go in there and we'd sit it for 2 minutes, and I think you would know more about the health benefits, I guess, for the anti-sickness.
Yeah, I mean, it just helps kind of like shock your body in a sense and build the immune system up. And then that's like for the sickness benefit, but it also has a lot of other things tied into it as well, where like it helps increase your dopamine levels. Like, I mean, you feel fired up after getting out of that thing too. Like you can ask Fultz, like, I mean, it's terrible going in. Once you get out, like you feel like an absolute stud and you're just like dialed in, ready to go. You know, and also to add to that as well, there's this part of the brain, I might butcher this, but I believe it's called the anterior maxillary cortex.
Okay.
And what it basically is like, they found it's the part of the brain that's essentially the willpower part of the brain. And the more that you do things you don't want to do, so aka cold plunging in a fucking frozen lake at 6 a.m. in the morning, that'll actually build and become stronger, and that'll increase your willpower and other things as well. So, you know, you kind of tie it back to the end server, you know, that's what everybody's curious about. That comes down to, you know, you're down 1-6. It's like, where's your willpower just not to give up on that game and keep fighting, you know, going for it. And that kind of helps that aspect of it as well. Yeah.
And we got to give a shout out to Andrew Huberman at this point.
Huberman.
Like, Huberman is like, Andrew Huberman, he's basically like a neural scientist, right? Like a brain scientist. And he's a guy we steal a lot of our performance stuff. Like he's who we pull from for a lot of this stuff. So there might be some people watching that know who we're talking about, but he's a super smart dude. Yeah. And you guys should check him out if you haven't.
Is there anything else that you do that we might not have covered? I'm just kind of curious with everything, you know, that you do is very clearly for a reason, with an end goal of ultimately improving performance and being the best collective that you can be. Is there anything else that I've potentially missed asking about?
Visualization.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot, like Fultz said, there's visualization, there's the standard, which is like the backbone of the team, I would say, right?
Yeah,
like,
we have pretty much these are actual non-negotiables. It's like tenets that we created of basically like to start like the brotherhood. It's basically like a lot of them are like, you know, something as simple as
like be for real,
which is like always speak your mind to your teammate, like don't hide anything. Or hashtag like fam, which is like don't, after the event ends, like don't be going to the bars shit talking to your teammates. Like a lot of that, like just like non-negotiables.
Which happens.
Yeah, it does happen. I mean, these standards have saved us, I'm sure, like so many headaches, because I've had these headaches on you know, previous rosters. So everything's kind of just much more professional when you have it.
So is that standard basically just a contract between you all to adhere to those standards?
Yeah, like we read it off like almost every week. Yeah. Like we go through the whole list.
And we change it too. Like if anybody doesn't agree with it, like we make it very clear where it's like, it's non-negotiable, but it's also once you agree to it. Like it's not one of those things where like Callout and Allo said the players got to do this, or Fultz said everyone's got to do this. It's like every person has a say in it, and every person is allowed to say like, okay, I don't agree with this. Like we should get rid of it. And like, that's why I think it works, because it's not something like, okay, you got to believe in this, this, and this. It's like, we want this, this, and this as a team. So now we're all
can
shape
it. That's your collective beliefs and
exactly.
and standards, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is honestly crazy when, again, I compare it to some of the horror stories that I hear
Yeah.
about other teams. I'm sure you've heard them as well.
I've been a part of it.
Oh, you've been a part of them, yeah.
Definitely.
How does the hierarchy in your team work in terms of, do you have like, and again, drawing parallels to traditional sports, in especially, the squad-based sports, I guess, you will have like a coaching staff and then like a senior leadership group within the players, or is Siege just not big enough for anything like that?
I mean, it's weird, I guess, in a sense. I mean, Fultz can touch on it as well. Like, we do like, I guess the best way to put it is we try to decentralize like leadership in a sense, where it's like, now Fultz is the primary IGL, like in the game. Before, we used to have an attack and a defense IGL, where it was like Forrest and then Fultz was defense, or like Iconic was attack and Fultz was defense. And now it's just Fultz for everything on that. But we have, each person has their own responsibility, like in the game especially, where it's like Liam or Ashton is our prompt guy. So like he'll be like, all right guys, like get your drones in place. Hey, like, who's on cams right now, all that kind of shit.
Okay.
Just like the prompt dude. Forrest is the guy to double check our lineups if we're making an adjustment, make sure like we have a hard breacher, we have like, if we're doing like an on-the-fly attack, something like that, just double check that.
So he's like the sense check of everything.
Yeah, basically. And then out of game, it's like, I think it's relatively traditional the way that like me and Allo coach in a sense. And, as for the players, like Fultz to be like the leader of the players, and like me and Allo kind of have like the say on what happens out of the game.
Yeah.
Do you have like any other additional support staff, like a psychologist or anything like that?
Yeah, Hector actually, fucking beast. You can call him Hector.
Beast, yeah. He's the guy that he was on Oak Street before, right? He worked with Oak Street.
The Boston Breach CDL team.
And then what is like? He's his person. I know he's personal training now, but like
he's like an exercise scientist. Dude.
Okay. So like he just recently joined us before this event for about, he was probably with for about a month before.
About a month. Yeah.
And he pretty much just like if the players want, like, I want a specific workout scheme for these set of goals, like he'll help you out with that. Or, this event, he's like, we're in this hotel gym, this is what they got, like dev us up a quick 30-minute program that we can just go do before the gym.
Nice.
And he kind of like just makes sure we're checking all those boxes. And I mean, outside of that, he's just like
soft tissue work.
Yeah, soft tissue work.
Honey baths, like all kinds of stuff.
What's that?
It's like Epsom salt and honey. Like he had us like do Epsom salt and honey baths on our off day to like get all the boys recovered and like get the body feeling good. Like anything physical, he does
like
it.
That, yeah.
And then we also have Revan, who he helps us like in prep stuff. Like he does a lot of like the, I guess, grunt work for me and Al. Like he'll go and find all the drones and he'll go and find all the cams.
Yeah.
Link all the VODs, stuff like that. And then we've worked with other people in the past when it comes to like psychology and stuff. Now a lot like the psychological aspect I kind of just handle because I've learned a lot about that. But in the past we worked with guys like Vertex, Taylor Johnson, like I told you about, those kinds of dudes. But right now just Hector, I would say, when it comes to like the actual mental, physical side of things. Yeah. And then we have Revan helping us with some of the in-game stuff.
It's crazy the span of people that go into a team, I guess, because a lot of people won't necessarily realize that there's so many. And then just the last thing I want to touch on was the timeouts in game specifically. Certainly for you as a coach, seem to be much more subdued and much more, I suppose, direct. When you look for a timeout, are you looking for a tactical, in terms of what you're trying to say to your players? Because we often see coaches where it's much more emotional about, seeing Fabian scream at people, wake up and fight them and shit like that. Whereas for you, it's much more subdued and direct. So
yeah. I think that like with everything we've talked about so far, with like the standard and like all the stuff we do, there's not really a need for me to tell like, hey Fultz, like let's fucking ramp it up right here, get the boys fucking going, like rah, you know what I'm saying? Like I kind of expect them to do that on their own, and like he's capable of doing that as a leader in the game. Because I guess like the amount of strategy that like, especially in the attacks that I do in the game, like I'm more so focused on like actual strategy, where it's like if I call a timeout, it's usually like to make a strategic adjustment, like okay, we're gonna start going faster pace here, like we're gonna do this attack, we're going to adjust this defense, etc. It's rarely ever to like get the boys riled up. I usually never need to do that really, or like calm them down. A lot of times we already have the tools in place to do that. It's more so just okay, like strategically, we need to adjust to this to like make sure we can stay ahead of these guys and keep cranking.
And that must be an advantage because you're not having to call that timeout to either get them to come down or to bring them back up, right? You're able to just fully focus on how do we win the next few rounds.
Yeah. 100%. I didn't think about that, but that is very true. Like we don't ever really have timeouts like like what's going on, guys? Like we do strategically, like what are we doing? But like not like emotionally,
Yeah.
like you
Yeah.
said, which is an advantage.
Because I think like we've certainly picked up on that from our point of view as talent. It's like how efficient you guys are after timeouts. It's like you win so many rounds after them.
Yeah,
So
I think a big thing too is like, which goes back to like just the culture, is like when he calls a timeout and he says something, like everyone's like, this is what we're doing. Like it's not.
yeah.
It's we're all on board, which is like I've even seen it. Like I'll hear coaches call timeouts, they'll make an adjustment, and then I watch the next round. I'm like, they're not even listening to what he just said. Like
Yeah.
they're not even doing that.
Yeah.
You know. But
Yeah, fair enough. It's like I say, it's honestly fascinating. Just with the way you guys are operating, and I do think it will lead to success. And I think that's pretty much where we'll end the podcast, because I don't want to. You've got a huge game coming up tomorrow. I don't want to take up too much of your time. So thank you both, obviously, for giving me your time. Is there anything else that you'd like to say just to close it out?
You got anything?
no, just thank you to SSG. They're a fantastic org for taking care of us. And it's just, if I don't know, when does this drop?
It's probably going to go live tomorrow morning. So
Tomorrow morning. Okay,
tomorrow morning,
so
before the game.
Okay, before the game. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Well, if you're an SSG fan, like get loud. We want to hear you guys and be cheering us on.
Get in the arena. Have you been to the arena yet?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He is.
Yeah.
It's,
checked it out.
it's looking good. It's looking very good.
Yeah, it looks nice.
Yeah, cool. Okay, and we'll close it out there. Then, obviously, thank you guys for watching or listening. And make sure to tune in for the next one.